Chapter 3.6 What Happens During Sleep? During sleep, a person periodically alternates between two main phases, slow and fast sleep. Rapid eye movement, or REM, is the period of time when fast movements of the eyeballs and rapid breathing are noted. In this period, an increased activity of the neurons are recorded. Professor Nathaniel Kleitman and his student Eugene Aserinsky discovered rapid eye movement and linked it to the dreams in 1953. REM lasts 10 to 20 minutes and repeats 4 to 5 times during the night cycle. During REM, muscles relax while the brain activity is increased. REM has been closely associated with dreaming. Waking up sleepers during an REM phase is a common experimental method for obtaining dream reports. 80% of neurotypical people can give some kind of dream report under these circumstances. After waking from REM sleep, the mind seems hyperassociative, more receptive to semantic priming effects. People awakened from REM have performed better on tasks like anagrams and creative problem solving. Sleep aids the process by which creativity forms associative elements into new combinations that are useful or meet some requirement. This occurs in REM sleep rather than in NREM sleep. Brain energy consumption in the REM stage is equal to or exceeds the consumption during wakefulness. Rapid sleep periodically gives way to the slow sleep phase, NREM. In this condition, the brain consumes 10 to 40% less energy than during REM. Some researchers believe that during NREM, there are no dreams at all. Experiments in mice show that deprivation of REM phase leads to the death of animals, and when they are deprived of NREM, the animals survive. If the experimental animal is deprived of REM for a while, then during the next sleeping period, the proportion of REM increases. In the NREM period, the eyes remain motionless or move slowly. Dreams, if they are present, do not have the character of hallucinations or unusual adventures. They are more mundane, devoid of imagination. The vital need for REM is quite obvious from the point of view of our hypothesis. The presence of an intense and fairly periodic electrocardiogram indicates brain directional and energetic electromagnetic work. During REM, the rhythm of electrical signals increases sharply and the amplitude decreases. If the brain generates signals during an NREM, the electrical signal changes slowly and quite chaotically. For remote transmission, they should be just like this. Fast and regular amplitude change. It looks like REM is the phase when global mind talks to the body. The processes in NREM occur inside the body, and no communication with global mind takes place. If so, we may draw a completely logical picture of a healthy person's sleep. In the beginning of sleep, a person sinks into an NREM stage. NREM sleep was divided into 3 stages. Stage 1 occurs mostly in the beginning of sleep with slow eye movement. This state is sometimes referred to as relaxed wakefulness. Alpha waves disappear and the theta wave appears. People aroused from this stage often believe that they have been fully awake. During the transition into stage 1 sleep, it is common to experience hypnic jerks. Stage 2, no eye movement occurs and dreaming is very rare. The sleeper is quite easily awakened. Electroencephalography recordings tend to show characteristic sleep spindles, which are short bursts of high-frequency brain activity. Stage 3 is deep, slow-wave sleep. Dreaming is more common in this stage than in other stages of NREM sleep, though not as common as in REM sleep. The total duration of the REM phase for an adult is 20 to 25%. Most muscles, excluding the muscles needed to maintain vital functions in the eyes, are immovable. During REM, the frequency of brain signals increase, which may indicate the exchange of signals with an external source. That source, in our opinion, is the global mind. After 10 to 20 minutes, REM changes into NREM stage, completing the full sleeping cycle. Such cycles occur 4 to 5 times per night, with the average duration of each of them being about 90 minutes. It seems quite logical that during NREM, internal processes occur, i.e., the joint actions of the brain and body organs. During this period, the brain collects the information from organs, processes it, and sends the feedback to the right points of the body. Most likely, The feedback commands are transmitted during the spindle period when the frequency of the electrocardiogram suddenly increases. This is the type of information that is subject to the brain itself, without direct global mind involvement. This is what Ivan Pigorov described. During REM, the collected and processed information is transmitted outside into the Information Global Mind Bank, and global mind commands are received and processed by the brain. Since we've accepted the hypothesis that mankind is created in the global mind image and likeness, one can compare the processes of communication between the body and the global mind to the activity of a large human enterprise. Likewise, our body consists of approximately 60 trillion individual employees, the cells of our organs and microorganisms, which we shelter. 30 trillion of them are our permanent employees, and 30 trillion seasonal workers, bacteria. Of course, organizations with 60 trillion employees do not exist. We could not embrace the work of such a gigantic organization with our weak mind. Instead, we may imagine a state factory, which is subordinate to the federal department. The usual morning of a large enterprise starts with a daily meeting, right? The CEO and his immediate entourage, COO, CFO, chief engineer, and heads of the departments form a think tank. They gather in the conference room and begin the process of information collection. The selector calls heads of production shops and various team leaders one by one to report on the state of affairs. They tell how many workers called in for duty today, what are the stocks of raw materials and spare parts, the need of electricity, the equipment that needs to be repaired, and which one they need to write off. The think tank solves the issues within their capability, giving short oral commands and writing out written orders. The collected information is processed, systemized, and formalized in the form of a report. The report contains both the achievements of the company and a list of problems that management cannot solve. The phase of NREM ends here. After that, the director releases his aides and asks the secretary to print the report and send it to the federal department by telegraph, fax, or email. Of course, typists can make typos, each of which would cost an enterprise dearly. Therefore, the reports are checked, rechecked, and duplicated. All pages are loaded into the fax machine, which transfers the operation of the enterprise during the REM phase. The department, having received the report, gets acquainted with it and immediately sends its instructions back to the enterprise. The instructions say what is necessary to improve, what permutations to make, what equipment and raw materials the department can help with, and which in the near future is not expected. Sometimes the department makes reshuffles in the factory management. The REM phase ends. All these processes have direct analogies with our sleep. The global mind, having received, during REM, the information about the state of all body organs and cells, processes it and immediately sends its commands back to the brain. The latter accumulates them, decodes, processes, and sends them to separate organs. The organs, in turn, begin to execute these commands in NREM stage. In addition to the information on the state of organs, i.e. the health of the body, the brain sends global mind all the information accumulated for the day for storing and processing it in the global information bank. This information is transmitted with codes and images. It is faster, more accurate, and more reliable than text files. Instead of describing what happened over the day in words, it is better to transmit a picture or video. Everything that happened during the reporting period must be transferred quickly and accurately. If a person is awakened during the information exchange process, he can remember it in the form of a dream. Dreams are, thus, representing the information exchange between the body and the global mind. Dreams occur when our program is being updated. A dream is a distorted perception of the program coming from outside and correcting our biological codes. Wait a second, our tireless reader would intrude again. We often dream about things that did not happen to us. In a dream, there are nightmares, improbable events, meetings with the strangers or with the people which we have forgotten to think about. All this is true and can be explained in the light of the hypothesis. Do you remember the earlier section about interference in wired communication channels? The same can happen with communication channels between the myriad of living organisms and global mind. If a person is physically and mentally healthy, his body produces clean, well-filtered signals. He communicates with global mind, and his dreams are optimistic and cheerful. When the body is sick or a mind is upset, the coding of the signals is malfunctioning. The structures filtering extraneous signals are not tuned. Therefore, every kind of devilry from extraneous subjects sneak into a dream.